Hi, my name is Jeff Morgan. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and in 2019 we are going to be seeking the repeal of unilateral divorce in the state of Texas. According to the Texas Family Code, Title I, the marriage relationship, Subtitle C, the dissolution of marriage, Chapter 6 talks about the suit for the dissolution of marriage. And in Subchapter A, we have the grounds for divorce and defenses. The very first ground for divorce is something in Section 6.001 called insupportability. What exactly is insupportability? On the petition of either party to a marriage, the court may grant a divorce without regard to fault if the marriage has become insupportable because of discord or conflict of personalities that destroys the legitimate ends of the marital relationship and prevents any reasonable expectation of reconciliation. This is the number one reason people use to file for divorce in the state of Texas. One thing about Section 6.001 and insupportability is that nowhere is insupportability defined. What exactly is insupportability? Nobody knows. It has a very fluid meaning. The meaning of insupportability is whatever I, as the petitioner, want it to mean. If I am filing for divorce, I can claim insupportability, and I never have to define insupportability. So when I proceed with my lawsuit against my spouse, because divorce is a lawsuit, and I list the ground of insupportability, I will automatically win no matter what. Now, the other grounds of divorce are fault-based grounds of divorce, cruelty. If you are acting in a cruel manner, the court may grant a divorce in favor of one spouse if the other spouse is guilty of cruel treatment toward him or to her. Adultery. Adultery is another reason, a fault-based reason, to get a divorce. Conviction of a felony. The court may grant a divorce in favor of one spouse if during the marriage the other spouse has been convicted of a felony, has been imprisoned for at least 1 year in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, a federal penitentiary, or a penitentiary of another state, and has not been pardoned. I'm not sure why exactly this is considered a ground for divorce, but in the state of Texas, somehow the legislation has said this is a fault-based reason for a divorce. Abandonment. The court may grant a divorce in favor of one spouse if the one spouse has left the complaining spouse with the intention of abandonment and remained away for at least a year. In some states, abandonment is considered a crime. In the state of Texas, it is just a ground for divorce. Evidently, it is not a crime. Living apart. The court may grant a divorce in favor of either spouse if the spouses have lived apart without cohabitation for at least 3 years. And here's another great one. Confinement in a mental hospital. The court may grant divorce in favor of a spouse if at the time the suit is filed, the other spouse has been confined to a state mental hospital, a private mental hospital, and if it appears that the hospitalized spouse's mental disorders is of such a degree in nature that adjustment is unlikely, or that if adjustment occurs, a relapse is possible. So we have fault-based reasons for divorce, but we have this thing called insupportability. And what happens in Texas is that in almost every instance, the ground of insupportability is used when the petitioner for the divorce files a lawsuit against the respondent, his or her spouse. Now, in most lawsuits, you have the ability to prove your innocence. Somebody accuses you of murdering somebody or stealing or something like that. You get the opportunity to mount a defense. The strange thing about the insupportability lawsuit is that you have no defense. There is no defense. You don't even know what you're guilty of. Somehow the court magically knows whether there is any reasonable expectation of reconciliation as well. Now, how can the court know this? Another fact that people don't talk about is people who have used insupportability to divorce a spouse get remarried to the same spouse. In about 6 to 8% of the cases of divorce, the couple that gets divorced under insupportability remarry each other. So what happened during that lawsuit? Did one spouse commit perjury? Did the meaning of insupportability with its fluidity somehow change so that what was insupportability yesterday is not insupportability today? And another strange thing about the Texas Family Code is that after a divorce is granted, you can marry another person after 31 days, but within 31 days, you can marry your spouse at any time you want to. So even the state of Texas, even the Texas Family Code, has some questions with regard to this thing called insupportability. Insupportability has in essence become divorce on demand. Easy divorce. Divorce for any reason, divorce for no reason. I can go to court and I can make up a reason, because in Texas family court, it does not matter if you are telling the truth regarding your reason for divorce. All you have to do is say insupportability. In fact, I could say insupportability has taken place in my marriage because I want to be able to have multiple sex partners and my wife does not want me to have multiple sex partners. Or the wife may say, well, this marriage has become insupportability because I'm dating other men and my husband doesn't like me dating other men. Now this becomes insupportability, and the problem as well is that the person who is committing the bad behavior now gets to become the plaintiff and make the accusation of insupportability against the innocent spouse. Why is the state of Texas involved in this? Why does the state of Texas always, 100% of the time, take the side of the person who is lodging the complaint for divorce based on insupportability? You say, how can that be? Of course the state does not do it 100% of the time. So I ask you, who do you know that has had divorce filed against them and the judge has said, I'm sorry, we can't grant this divorce? It never happens. It never happens. In fact, there's another issue with that because the judge is not allowed to rule against divorce. At least that's what all the conservative judges have told me. We have to follow the law. We can't make law from the bench. So in essence, the divorce becomes a legislative divorce and the innocent spouse has no defense. What happens to the innocent spouse? The innocent spouse may say, I don't think our marriage is insupportable. In fact, I didn't even know that there were really any big problems. The innocent spouse usually is the one who has to respond to the accusation of insupportability. Because he or she did not file first, he or she is at a natural disadvantage. Not only will he or she always lose 100% of the time, the divorce will be granted against his will or her will 100% of the time, but we have something called the division of assets. And somehow in Texas we think that if divorce takes place because of insupportability, everything should be split 50-50. So the victimizer who files a divorce for insupportability also gets rewarded for divorce. How so? He or she gets 50% of the assets, and the innocent spouse gets left with only 50% of the assets. When people marry, they marry for a lifetime. They marry to have the commitment to build a family together. When one spouse abandons the marriage and then says, well, it's insupportable, or when one spouse commits these reasons for fault, like abandonment, adultery, cruelty, and then says, well, it's insupportable, this whole marriage is just insupportable, and somehow it becomes his fault or her fault, there is something insanely unjust about it. The big question, again, I want to ask is, why does the state of Texas always, without exception, always take the side of the person filing lawsuit for insupportability for the reason of divorce? The respondent has no ability to refute the charge. If the respondent were being accused of a crime such as stealing a car, the respondent could say, I didn't steal the car. I was at so-and-so's house. I've got all these people. I've got videotape. Shows I did not steal the car. It must have been somebody else. It may have been a person who looked like me. It was not me. I was here. In insupportability, unilateral, forced divorce, there is no defense. However, you can hire an attorney to help you with your defense, which of course is no defense, and you can be stuck with a bill, because what the state of Texas tends not to tell you is that yes, you can hire an attorney, but you will always lose. So in addition to losing, you will also lose additional money given to a divorce attorney who is there to help you through the process at a mere $250 or $300 or $400 or $500 an hour. And by the way, they also bill in quarter-hour increments. A telephone call may cost $100. An email may cost another $100. If I send 3 emails, that's just a ching 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 $300 bill. And here's another thing about the unilateral divorce in the state of Texas. I am the person at fault. I am filing for divorce based on insupportability, but I have no job. And my spouse is saying, but this is so unfair. He should not be able to get away with all of this treatment and be able to get half of my assets and many times get the kids as well. So there's something wrong about this. But I tell the judge, this marriage has become so broken down and irretrievable. The discord of personalities is so great, and I may be lying about the whole thing. The marriage has become insupportable, but I don't have the money to pay my attorneys. And the judge can tell you, really, these attorneys need to be paid, because the attorneys, they contribute to the judge's campaign, election campaign. So the attorneys need to be paid so that the judge can also get some campaign funds coming his way. So the judge can say, in addition to granting the divorce, even though you pretend to have a defense, there is no defense against insupportability, you can now pay his attorney fees. And I know this to be the case. I have a friend who went through the exact same thing. He got stuck with over $100,000 of his wife's attorney fees because he worked and she did not. This is justice in the state of Texas under the Texas Family Code. Now, when we talk about the repeal of unilateral divorce, we are not talking about the repeal of all divorces. We are still saying that divorce for a reason, for a cause, a fault-based reason, can be a remedy for the situation. A spouse should not have to live with a husband or a wife who is a non-stop serial adulterer. A spouse should not have to live with somebody who's beating her up or beating him up. The divorce is a remedy in such situations. Insupportability, not only is it plain selfishness, it deprives the respondent of any type of substantive due process to protect his or her interest, because he or she will always be found guilty. The state of Texas will always say, sorry, pal, sorry, ma'am, sorry, sir, you will be divorced because we say so by law. And this law is completely unjust. It needs to be repealed. That's what we are seeking to do in 2019. We hope that you join us in this effort. Thank you.